Well, after falling to 13-13 through their first 26 games, the Phils have now won 8 of their last 10 and improved to 21-15 on the season. They're now 6 games over 500 for the first time this year, and they have an opportunity at hand to really make an impact in the month of May. Let's talk about it next, right here on the PHLY Phillies podcast. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the PHLY Phillies podcast. Tyler Zulli here, and today, after 2 consecutive wins against the Rays and a 4-2 start in the month of May, I thought I would take a look at the rest of the month of May's schedule to see exactly how much damage the Phillies can do, because when you take a look at it on the onset, it does not seem like that difficult of a task throughout the month of May. And I think the answer to that question is it actually feels like they could do some damage this month. But first, let's take a look back at what the Phillies have done well so far to get to this point at 6 games over 500, because it feels like they've seemed to have hit a little bit of their stride over the last 10 days or so, both offensively and defensively. Kind of as I've said, they're 8-2 now over their last 10 games. They're 6 games over for the first time this season. And tonight they have an opportunity to stretch that to 7 games over 500 and to sweep out the Rays in Tampa. And it's not a very good Rays team. We've talked about that plenty. But to sweep a team nonetheless is a difficult task. It would only be their second sweep of the year. The first time they did it was way back in the beginning of April when they swept out the Colorado Rockies, a team that we'll talk more about in just a little bit. But the Phillies have done a really nice job, even without the benefit of many sweeps this year, in stacking series victories, especially over the last 4 series, as they've won 4 consecutive series dating back to the Miami Marlins series. They've taken series from the Marlins, the Cubs, the Diamondbacks, and now the Rays, even if they don't win tonight, but they do have an opportunity at hand to sweep out the Tampa Bay Rays. You go all the way back to that trip to Chicago at Wrigley Field more than 2 weeks ago to get to the point where they're at now, where they lost that first game in Chicago and had lost 4 consecutive games. And it looked like things were really heading in the wrong direction. They've picked it up enormously since then and have not lost a series, including winning the final 2 games of that series in Chicago. That series, by the way, was April 12th to the 14th. We're now almost to a month later. It is May 8th. We're getting closer and closer. And with the fact that the Phillies have already won the series against the Rays, the next likeliest outcome or the next outcome that could be a series loss would not finish until May 11th when they take on the Guardians this weekend. They also have seemed to hit a little bit of their stride offensively. As I said, defensively, pitching has been the staple for this team throughout most of the year. Let's talk about the starting pitching for just a moment. As we kind of expected, they've been dominant for the bulk of the season. As a team, they boast the 4th best rotation ERA in all of baseball at 3.37. Only the Mets, the Royals, and the Rangers have better rotation ERAs than the Phillies do. And individually, their numbers are excellent as well. Jesus Luzardo and Christopher Sanchez are both within the top 25 of qualified pitchers in terms of ERA. And Zack Wheeler's at a 3.34, which ranks 40th right now, which seems like it's fairly high for a guy like Zack Wheeler. But his ERA has come down substantially after a pair of bad starts against the Cardinals and the Braves. He has been excellent since those 2 starts. But the offense has really started to match pace, especially as of late. They've scored 7 runs or more 7 times in the last 10 games, and they've broken double digits twice in that mark. And over those 7 games in which they've scored 7 or more runs, they're 6-1. The only one that they didn't win was the series finale against the Arizona Diamondbacks, that extra inning game. It was a wild game. Unfortunately, they weren't able to win that series and sweep out the Diamondbacks, but they took 2 of 3 and scored 7 runs in that game, in which, by the way, they were down 7-1 midway through the game. They also have the 7th most hits in all of baseball and are 3rd in the league in both team batting average and team on base percentage. And the best part about this, for those that love small ball, for those that ask the Phillies to not be so home run or bust as they've been in years past, they're doing it without the long ball being as much of a factor. They're just 16th in team home runs hit this year, yet their slugging is within the top 10. And as we talked about, on base percentage and batting average are both 3rd across Major League Baseball. The other thing we've talked about a ton for this team is their plate discipline and how much it has improved over the last season from 2024 to 2025. Their chase rates are better. Their whiff rates are starting to go in the right direction. They're 5th in baseball in average exit velocity and also 7th in fewest strikeouts. So what that tells you is offensively, especially as of late, the Phillies are hitting the ball hard and they're not swinging and missing nearly as much especially when it comes to the strikeouts, as they did a year ago. So offensively, it all seems like it's starting to come together really nicely for this team. You pair it with a much better bullpen over the last 2 or 3 weeks or so. You pair it with a pitching staff, a starting rotation that has been excellent all season as we expected. Things are starting to come together for the Phillies as they hit their stride in the month of May. So, why do I think the Phillies have an opportunity at hand to really do some damage in the month of May? Let's take a look at the opposition for the rest of the month. So, after the final game against the Rays tonight, they're going to head to Cleveland for a weekend series with the Guardians. And this might be the toughest matchup of the month, at least in terms of toughest matchup, meaning the Guardians have the most wins of any team that they're going to face so far at the point of this recording. The Guards have won 7 of 10 themselves and have jumped out to a 22-15 record. And more importantly, for them, at least in this weekend series, they are much better record wise at home than they are on the road. They've won 11 of their 16 road games. They're 11 and 5 at home, excuse me, and they're just 11-10 on the road. But the funny thing is, ironically enough, their splits are different on offense and defense when it comes to home and away. They're a better pitching team at Progressive Field, but they've actually found more offensive success away from Cleveland this year. In just 5 more games on the road, they've scored 43 more runs. So maybe from an offensive standpoint, this is a good thing for the Phillies that they're heading to Progressive as opposed to the Guardians coming to Citizens Bank Park. But the good thing for the Phillies offense, at least, the Phillies are likely to see 3 starters that all boast ERAs of 4.2 or worse on the regular season. Then after Cleveland, it's a pair of NL Central matchups. And yes, I know the Phillies, last time they faced the NL Central St. Louis Cardinals, they lost 2 of 3 in St. Louis, but they have 6 straight at home against the Cardinals and against the Pirates. Now, the Cardinals right now are 500 at 19-19, but the Pirates are already 14 games under 500 at 12-26. Pittsburgh has scored the second fewest runs in baseball this year at 118, and they've scored either 1 run or been shut out 11 times this season already. Their offense has struggled. They strike out a ton. Their batting average isn't high. It's an offense that just has not put together a lot of productivity. And there's a reason that they are 14 games under 500 already. So following that 6-game stretch against the Cardinals and the Pirates, it's a West Coast trip. But the good news, the first stop is in Colorado. The Rockies are 6-29. That's a full statement. That's the end of that sentence right there. It shouldn't be, but they're 23 games under 500 through the first 35 games of the year. Talking about the Pirates being the second fewest runs scored this season, the Rockies are worst across all of baseball. They also have the 3rd worst team ERA. This is just a really bad baseball team right now, and they have been the worst team across baseball, and that includes the Chicago White Sox by quite a bit so far this year. After Colorado, you're going to take on a sneaky good team, a stingy team out in Sacramento as the second stop of the minor league stadium tours throughout the month of May continues as the Phillies get set for a 3-game set in Sacramento against a much improved A's team. Now, the A's are all offense all the time. The pitching staff for the A's has the 7th worst team ERA across baseball, but the A's are 3rd in hits in the league and also have the 7th best slugging percentage across baseball. And it's why they're 2 games over 500, despite the fact that their pitching hasn't been all that great. Jacob Wilson has been outstanding. The rookie shortstop who never sees 2 strike counts is hitting over 350 to begin his rookie campaign. Then after that West Coast trip, you're going to be back at home for the final 2 series of the month. The Atlanta Braves and Milwaukee Brewers round out the month of May. Now, the Braves have played much better as of late. After starting the year 0-7, and then again, they were 5-13. They're now just 2 games under 500. They've won 12 of their last 18 games. And then Milwaukee will round out the month. They're a 500 team at 19-19. Their pitching staff's been about middle of the pack. The offense has been a little bit better than that. But again, an opportunity for the Phillies to stack some more series wins. So obviously, all of these records and storylines that we just talked about are subject to change as the month unfolds. But I think the point is reasonably accurate and fair for right now. The Phillies have an opportunity at hand to really stack some wins and some series throughout the month of May. Now, I don't expect the Phillies to duplicate their 20-7 month of May that they posted last year, but I don't think asking for 16 or 17 wins is outside the realm of fairness or possibility. They're already 4-2 in the month. They have an opportunity tonight to be 5-2. I don't think it's unfair to ask for another 12 or so wins over the final 22 games of the month of May. So the Phillies have a really good opportunity at hand because June gets much more difficult and the summer months get much more difficult. The Phillies have a chance in May to really pull ahead and drive some distance between themselves and the other wild card teams across Major League Baseball.